Hey there, welcome to the ModGolf Podcast, where we talk to the entrepreneurs, the innovators, the disruptors, and the influencers who are shaping the future of golf. As you can see down in the lower left corner, my name's Colin Weston. I'm the host of the ModGolf Podcast. We've been doing this for over 8 years now on our YouTube channel. We've been doing it for a little over 3. Really excited about all the stories that we've told and the ones that we're bringing to you in the future. And I've had over 200 guests on the show. And today's guest is one of those 200, and that is Agustín Piza, also known as Augie. So Augie joined me back in November of 2021, if my math is correct here. That's about 3.5 years ago, telling me all the great things that they were working on. His take on taking the traditions of design, of golf architecture, and how he's infused that and reimagined that in some of the amazing designs and clients that he's had over the years. The reason I asked him back on here today, yes, we are going to talk about what Pizá Design has been working on the golf course and the green grass experience. But I'm excited about this because I had the opportunity after the PGA show this year back in January as part of the media contingency of participating in TGL, going to a Rory versus Tigers match. So if you don't know what TGL is, we're going to have Augie start to introduce that. But Augie is one of the golf course architects that designed, I think, well, we're going to focus on 5 of his designs of his holes that he designed here for TGL, and he's designed many, many more than that. But that's what we're going to focus on here to get us going. So with no further ado, I know for our podcast listeners here, you can't see us on here on YouTube, but hey, I'm going to bring him on screen here, and there he is. Augie, good to see you again. It's been a while.
Hey, Colin, it's been great. Great to see you again. Yes, wow, it's been a long time.
It has been. Okay, I'm a little jealous.
Yes.
How come every time I see you, you look even younger? What is going on there? What's in the water down there?
No, it's all the filters that we can use now, Colin.
There you go. It's like
No,
Photoshop for your face, is it?
yes. All the
There-
features. No, no, no,
Nice.
no.
Good
It's
stuff.
great to be back. Thank you for having me. And let's talk design. Love it.
That's right. Well, you and I both have that design background. Of course, I don't have a traditional background in architecture. I kind of stumbled into it 10 years ago, and now with ModGolf, the last 8, as we know. But my background for the first half of my career is in architectural design, and you also have that background. And then
Yes.
moving forward with that, spending time in Scotland, actually studying golf course architecture, and kind of reimagining your career for that, which you've done for, I guess, over 10 or 15 years now, which you can tell us. But hey, let's get right into it. So we're going to focus on TGL, what they've done with this indoor experience. So there's probably some listeners and viewers out there that are like, what is this TGL thing you're talking about? So the few that don't know what this is, why don't we start with that? And why don't you tell us what TGL is before we start getting into some of the amazing holes that you've designed for it?
Well, thank you for the 15 to 20 years. I mean, I might look young, but I've actually been 28 years in the industry, Colin. And
Wow, I sold you short there. Sorry about that.
Yeah. And next year, well, 2026 will mark our 20th anniversary of Pizá Golf. We began in 2006, and our first client was Punta Mita as a project manager for the second golf course of Nicholas Signature down in Punta Mita. So it all started in '98 first, and then in 2006 our own firm, and we must be doing something good to be sitting down here with you years later.
You're doing more than a few good things. You're doing some freaking awesome things, which
Thank you.
like I said, I'm very excited about. Okay,
Thank you,
so
Colin. Yep.
so give us this overview of TGL. I'll tell you what, while you talk about it, I will pull up the TGA homepage here, so people can get an idea if they're watching on YouTube here of what we're talking about here. So go for it. Why don't you tell us what's going on with
Yes,
with
well, I
TGL?
mean, the best thing that anybody can do is hop on their website, tglgolf.com, as you're looking at it right now. It stands for Tomorrow Golf League, and it's a fun hybrid, made for TV tournament, which was fantastic, or at least to me. I think we had a great, good television ratings, and I don't think that I can remember a January, February, and March part of the year that went by so fast and so quick, because the televised tournament was every Monday or Tuesday and Tuesday of these 3 months, which the golfers are away from the from their regular season. So it was a great experience seeing them live, seeing them on TV, and obviously trying to design some good uh, extraordinary holes and experience for some of the top players in the world. So it was a full around great experience, Colin.
Yeah, yeah. So our viewers and listeners kind of understand, to expand on what you just put out there, Augie, that the players are hitting into a 60-foot high screen. So this is like the world's biggest, not like, it is the world's biggest golf simulator. So once you actually hit into the screen, and you're hitting off of real turf and real sand, fairways and rough, so it's not this synthetic grass. So you actually have that experience. And then when you get close to the green or on the green, your ball was actually placed. The technology is there that then you putt out, and the green actually has actuators underneath it, so it can change, and it rotates 360 degrees. So the green is the same size with the locations of the bunkers, but that rotation gives you infinite possibilities of the hole. We're going to dig into that detail too, of how you then coordinate with the other technologies and all of that good
Yes.
stuff, and the shape of the green and surrounding that. But that's essentially what they're doing. So it's a team play. They got 3 players on each team, and the great thing is it lasts about 2 hours, which I know they did on by design. It's the same as an
Yes.
NFL or an NBA game, and that's what you want for that. Even though we love traditional golf, and the Masters was amazing last weekend. Shout out to Rory.
Oh
That
yes.
yeah, it. I'm in the golf industry, and I will only watch the majors and the players. So I don't watch a lot of golf tournaments because it does take a long time, right? And the fact you condense this down and you're making it super exciting. So that's the essence of TGL. Okay, so now we're going to get into the holes themselves. So like I said, we've got, I believe there's almost 20 different holes. I'm assuming
There's
for
30 different
season 2
holes
next
from
year, you're going to be designing
yeah.
some more holes that we can talk about at the end. So you've got quite a few of these that you've designed here. So why don't we start with, before we actually get into one of the hole designs, I want to hear and learn about the process. How did this start? Did they approach you? And what was the first thing that you did? Because no one's ever done this before. It's like, so I'm fascinated by this. So Augie,
Yeah.
tell us about that.
This was very special, Colin. Now, just imagine, having the opportunity, and throughout my career, I've had the opportunity of working with some of the greatest, like Jack Nicklaus, in with different projects in Mexico, and either doing project management for their client or whatever. But it's been a very, very, or working for his construction company in Paragon back in '98 all the way to 2000.
Right,
So
right.
so it's been a great adventure for me, and my career, also working with Gary Player as well in Costa Baja at that time, now El Cortez. So I've had these very, very beautiful experiences with top legends in our game, and now going now to TGL and having this great league, with that's the partners are Mark McCarley, Tiger Woods, and Rory McIlroy. Then it's just another beautiful experience, as you can imagine. So yes, I mean, we were very lucky to have the call. That was early 23. Can you imagine that? It's
Wow.
also early 23 when we received the call for the invitation to for an interview. And we were very lucky because we've always kind of like been, and our work, our past work, we like to be innovative, we like to think outside the box, we like to do some things different. We've been involved in technology. If you know about our pit design, and if not, look it up, hashtag the pit 2020, which is a pretty cool golf lounge area that we designed a few years back. And our first intervention with all these VR areas, there you go, with all this that we create is with the Golf Plus guys. So with Ryan Engel, we had a very good chat years ago, and the pit, you can actually play it on the Golf Plus MetaQuest, the goggles. So
Right.
it's a full on experience. It's right in the middle of the driving range. So we've been involved in these types of atmospheres. Technology wise, usually we work with Harris Kalinka, and we have our in-house also render guys that we do other type of work. So it's not we've been in touch with this. So from all of that, there were a few recommendations that we were very gracious of having, and that is how and why we had the call, and luckily we hit it off with with tomorrow team, with the tomorrow team, and we signed up. So our it was a fantastic experience, and now it was let's see if we can deliver, and let's see if we can be up to the task. So as you well mentioned, it was the first time that I actually had a white canvas to play around with. I usually
Right.
don't use that phrase as a regular architect. I don't use that phrase because we're never up on a blank canvas. It's always, we have to respect or enhance nature, or there's something going on. We have restrictions, we have constraints, we have different types of different things that we have when you do a regular grass golf course that I've never, I don't like to use the blank canvas approach, but in this case it was a full on blank canvas, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
Wow. Well, I know back in my design days in architecture, I found, and even back in architecture school, that having that blank canvas is paralyzing, because having some constraints and having an ethos or a philosophy or design vision and what your principles are, and then it starts to present that structure or scaffolding around what you want to do, and then you start putting some meat on the bones after that. So let's talk about that next step then. What was the first design session like, and like, pull the curtain back on that and tell us how that even worked. Who
It
who did you
was
meet with, and what was that kind of 30,000 foot vision? Because I guess you had to decide what you're going to do, and also I guess you had to quickly define what you were not going to do, since you could do pretty much anything.
Yes, I think that was pretty much a role, as we like to mention in our designs, a roller coaster, and a carousel of emotions, because at the end, you're right. I mean, now what do we do? No, now what? Now there was three firms that were chosen. One was Nicholas Design, and so I know that I was going to work with Chad Getz, who's a colleague and friend, and that's the beauty also of our industry. We know each other. We know who's out there. We've seen each other before. Or we've said hello. We've enjoyed our company a lot, and so I was going to work with Chad Getz, which that was amazing. I have a great relationship with the Nicholas Group, and Bo Welling, who's another, just the finest of gentlemen's. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be fantastic to work with alongside Bo and Chad from Bo Welling Design, and myself. So I was very, very, very excited, very happy to start working with that, and then we got the instructions that we were all going to work in a vacuum. So we were all going to be
Really?
isolated. We weren't allowed to talk to each other. We weren't allowed to exchange any notes. So that was kind of like a cool thing that happened. That it was like, oh my god, now we're all in isolation, and we can't talk to each other. So every time we saw each other, it was just kind of like a little wink or whatever at the golf show or whatever. So that was kind of like a cool interaction. And then we finally now it comes down to each of us to come up with something special, and ad hoc to obviously the brief, which is to challenge and entertain. The top golfers in the world have to be challenged and entertained, and the people have to be entertained. So it wasn't an easy brief, to be honest. It's not something that you normally create when you're out there designing a regular golf course, because for a regular golf course, you're thinking of the complete the complete atmosphere that you'll have in a golf course. You'll have a plus 25 handicap, and you'll have a minus handicap or a
Right.
scratch golfer. So you cater for those, and you try to do your best for them to either enjoy a resort course or enjoy a player's course or enjoy their private course or whatever it's going to be. In this case, it's kind of like a Pete Dye TPC Sawgrass brief, where it's, hey, challenge the best golfers in the world. That's just going to be for them, but you also have to make it entertaining. So it wasn't, it's kind of like the golfers as well. They're out there competing, but they're also being, to a certain extent, entertainers out there for us, for the fans that are watching on television. Once the whistle blows for the TGL season. So it was new for all of us. It was something new for the designers. It was something new for the players. It was something new for everybody. So it was we were conscious about that. So when that landed on us now to decide, I knew that I was sure that I wanted to do something out of the ordinary, out of the box thinking, innovative to whatever length we can use it. We can do it. Stretch the line, stretch the band, everything that comes with our way of thinking and philosophy, but with that said, respecting the integrity of the game we love.
Right.
It would have been, the easy thing is jump from this window to the other window, jump from that side to the other, jump from one planet to the next, go through the clown's mouth, and so that's something that we knew we didn't want. And I
Right.
think we all at the end thought, to a certain extent, that with the integrity of the game we love had to be preserved. So with that said, we came in and we started to design different golf holes. So you'll see it either at the temple, you see it at the spear, where we start designing with forms. Architecture's design is the design of forms or with forms, geometric forms. In this case, two triangles, where I was playing around with them, and then I pinched two in the middle, and it was like an awakening, kind of like, wow, this could be a very interesting risk and reward hole in such a simplistic way. There's nothing else happening. There's no bunkers. There's nothing there. It's just two elements, the grass and the water, in the case of the spear. And that's it. Those are the only two elements. It's looking straight at you. When it pinches to very short yardage, between 15, 20 yards, and then it opens up to 300 feet if you hit a huge driver. So that is a golf hole that will play with your mind a little bit. It looked different. It looked exciting. It played exciting, luckily. But at the end, when we were designing it, when we were doing the first sketches, it is something completely out of the box, and we didn't know how it was going to be perceived and received.
Right. Okay, so let's dig into 6 of these holes. So we're going to talk about the plank, pick your plunder, on the rocks, sidewinder, the spear, and the temple. But one last thing before we get into this, I'm curious to hear about what type of feedback you had, or how did you start to test these as a prototype? I'm assuming you didn't have Rory and Tiger or some of the TGL players, those pros, testing that, because then that would give them too much insight. So tell us about that. Once you actually started to build some of the holes, we're going to run through the whole journey of the process here, but because some holes may be like too hard, or maybe certain aspects of it, maybe that is too much and it borderlines on the ridiculous, and you had to kind of ramp it back and kind of tweak it a little bit. So what was the process like there? Did you have, in the simulator, once you actually had a prototype or a minimum viable product, did you have people testing it and playing the holes to design it that way to see what worked and what didn't?
Oh, Colin, it was a full year of, it was a movie in the making.
Yeah.
It's it's in Orlando. We rented out a huge, or TMRW rented out a huge stage, and everything was mocked up. Everything, the screen, um, everything was mocked up there. So we had a chance to go out there two, three times and test out or visualize it, etc. How this was going to play, how this hybrid, back and forth between the green and the screen and the tee box, etc. How it was going to play. So all of this, it was like a huge movie set that we were testing and learning at the same time. And TMRW created a humongous effort and strategic moves throughout the year of having top college players go and test them out, or some of the players of the PGA Tour that were around that area. Florida, there's a few out there, or the majority probably are out there in Florida. So during the year they can come in and test. They can come in and trial and error or give us their feedback. So that was exciting. But this was a full year and a half of creative process, done very well and managed very well by Tomorrow Sports.
Nice, nice. Okay, so the first hole we are going to talk about is the plank. So as we bring this on, I did have one more question for you here before I want you to kind of get into the plank, and that is, we've got 6 holes here, and I believe you designed even more holes than that. Did you kind of design them all, kind of sketch them all out together, and kind of bring them all these babies together at the same time, or did you focus on one to kind of work out, the kinks and refine it as you go before you moved on? So I'm curious about that. Did you design them all at once and move them forward, or work on one from tip to tail and then
No,
the second one and the third one after that?
ideas come when they want to come. So
Right.
it's sometimes I did 4 sketches, quick napkin sketch on my sketchbook that should be around here somewhere. And it's like, I like the idea, boom, and the concept, boom, 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 and then that's it. And then I left it alone. And then maybe another concept, and I left it alone. And then we would go back and forth with the client, saying, hey, this is the idea, this is the approach, this is okay, I like it. It has, we like it. So let's take it to the next step. Let's take it to the next level. The plans are done to the extent or to the level of detail that we do a regular golf course. The difference is that instead of somebody hopping on a dozer, they hop on a mouse.
Right.
That's the difference. That's the main difference. But Full Swing did a tremendous job of having the shapers code and do their meshes, so that was another process of, once we create the I have this one right here that I can show you. So once we create the sketch, this is the serpent. So once we create the sketch with the strategy, then you have the contours, the layout, we turn everything in AutoCAD and stuff like that, and then you start making the switch towards the virtual world, which is a fantastic experience. That, like I said, I had experienced it with Golf Plus, and now to have the opportunity to experience it with Full Swing and all of their digital shapers, which was amazing. So
Nice,
all
nice.
of that, we
Oh,
took it to that level, and then we started to interact with digital shapers.
gotcha. Okay, so we're going to run through each one of these holes. Each one has a personality, each one has a theme, and quite often the name reflects one of the kind of core characteristics and challenges of the hole. So let's start with the plank. So give us the overview. What's going on here?
Yeah, well, the plank is, I believe, to be one of our most strategic off holes. As you can see, this is kind of like an isometric view of it. So you see it from the side or from an angle. But when you're standing on the tee, those bunkers seem like they are like if you had no place to land.
Right.
We like to work a lot with the psyche behind the viewer. So having that those diagonal bunkers that you see there, it really opens up. You can play. This is a relative short par four, 350 plus yards, where you can encourage the golfer to go for it, or you can play it with two wedges even, or two or three wedges, or you can play it with a short iron. It was very strategic. You could land wherever you want. You can pick and choose your landing spots. Position A is on the top tier to the right. That you would have to clear the third line, the third row of bunkers to
Right.
get onto position A. But position B, position C, position D were not bad options either. So we designed this because we wanted to also design some relief holes where you can actually, let's just pick this place to land, and we don't have to have that heartbeat, the heart race, because it's not a risk and reward hole. It's not a penal hole. It's a very strategic hole that plays around 6% uphill, and if you choose your correct angles depending on the flag position, it can play like a 3.7, 3.8 hole in regards to par four.
So risk reward hole. So each one of these six we're going through, I want
A
you to share
strategic hole.
something that makes you smile as far as one of the highlights for TGL that happened at each one of these holes. So tell us what the plank did.
No,
What
well,
was some of the best shots and some of the birdies, and what did someone mangle this hole? Did one team
well,
screw it
I'll
up?
tell you one thing very quickly. Shane Laurie took the first ever shot in TGL history on the plank. So that was beautiful to watch.
Nice.
Yes,
Okay.
it was usually. I mean, we would have to go back and look at each week, but it was usually a starting hole for TGL during the tournaments.
Gotcha. Okay. Next one we're going to talk about, pick your plunder. I really want to hear the rationale behind the naming of this one. So let me pull this one up here. All right. Once again, if you're listening to the ModGolf podcast, I will include the link for the YouTube video here, so you can also come and watch us there. Also in the show notes, I will include all the imagery that Augie and I are talking about here, so you can, as you go along and listen, you can scroll through and look at the images there. So, okay, pick your plunder. So tell us about this one.
Well, this has a little bit of more sauce in it,
Right.
as you can tell. Now, one of the things that we're in our rationale, behind the designs, it was like, hey, so what are we designing for? It's very important, Colin, to always, at least in our book, to know to define the why. What are why are we doing this? What's the purpose, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a full process, no? That you go back and forth with the client, and you also digest it yourself, and you come up with the ideas and the concept and the storytelling behind it. In this case, one of the things that we knew is that we were going to play alternate shot, best players in the world. As you know, some would hit, usually they can work the ball however they want, but they have a preferred shot. Yes, high trajectory, mid trajectory draw, maybe a low cut, high cut, whatever. And each one has their own special shot in their bag. So
Right.
what we wanted to create, because it was an alternate shot, team play. Okay, so let's level the field and create alternate ways of playing it. You can play the middle section, but it will ask you for a 25-yard width, and it'll ask you for at least 286 yards of clear. And you have the Guardian. Go back to the other picture. I think it's two pictures back, where you have the Guardian bunker in front of you. One more. When you have the Guardian front, maybe two more. I don't know. Just keep on going until you have.
That
There you
one.
go.
Okay.
So you have that bunker's called the Guardian, and there you have an angle that you can see over it. But when you're in the tee box, you just have the Guardian facing you right there. So it's a blind shot onto that runway that you see there. Okay, but that's
Yes.
your ultimate reward. So that's your ultimate reward shot. Now, keep on scrolling. If you go towards the right side, well, let's take a look at the left side. If you go towards the left side, it's a wider angle, shorter distance. It's 250 to clear that first bit of grass that you see there. So
Right.
anybody can take on that. It's the average clear for the tour, I believe now is set at 286, more or less. No, so you have that at 250, but you have a full area to land, but it has a counter speed slot. So if you pull that shot a little bit to the left, you took that easier route, but you pull that shot to your left, those ripples right there will bring you all the way down, and you'll have a second shot, a blind second shot, and a further second shot. So that's the risk reward you take if you go to the left. Now, if you keep on scrolling and go to the right, that is a mid area where it's 270, 275 to clear. It's 40, 45 yards in width. And this is kind of like and it has a speed slope now towards the green area, or
Right.
towards the so you can get home in two if you feel like it. So each alternative has a different side to a risk and reward amongst themselves. So each one that you take has its own experience and has its own adventure. But at the end, if you had somebody that's a long hitter or somebody that's a short hitter but has a beautiful left to right shot, then he'll probably take the left shot and put himself on a better position than even the long hitter, that if he doesn't control it on that 25-yard mark, then they could be in trouble and could be penalized. But the point is to have all of these alternatives within the experience of playing this hole on TGL.
Nice, nice. So the view we have right now is actually looking back at the green towards the tee box. So you do see all three
Yes.
hitting areas there. And as we touched on at the top of the show here with TGL, so yes, you're hitting off of real grass when you're teeing it up in a fairway shot. But if you end up rolling into the rough, it is punitive because it is long. And also it is real sand traps. And if you've got, as you've designed here with the Guardian and some other these traps, you're down in those. They actually hitting out of those, it then has a mechanical kind of a little
Yes, it
ramp
has a
piece in the
lip.
front
Yeah.
there that you have to hit over. So it's not as easy as hitting in a simulator at one of your local golf entertainment venues that just hitting off of a mat. That you do pay the price for this, don't you?
Yes, yes. It has a very exciting angles and bits to the experience.
Nice. So before we
And
move
of
on, this
course,
one image
and
here,
of course,
so we got to
Colin,
focus on the green here. Let's talk about that because the green that they've designed, it does rotate between holes 360 degrees with the three sand traps you can see there. So, and then once you hit the ball almost near the green or on the green, they have the technology. Then you've got a laser light that comes down where you place your ball. So with a hole like this, how do you determine which way to orient the green? How did you decide on this? Let's say for this hole where you can rotate this however you want for infinite possibilities before you settle on this. So how did you arrive on the green orientation for this hole and some of the others?
the green orientation is fixed. So I was going to tell you that that depending on the only thing that changes for this hole is the pin placement. So if there's a pin placement on the left or on the right, then that also, at least during the season, that also determined where a few of the golfers were hitting their first shot, which is part of what you want. You want to create a dialogue between your hole, your design, and the players and the sky caddy. There's a sky caddy right there, a digital caddy, a digital caddy that you can move and you like how you do it on your phone, where you move the line and it'll show you the line of play, the yardages, et cetera, et cetera. So the green is fixed. Once we design and we determine where and how we want the green, that green is fixed. The only thing that changes are left, center, or right pin positions.
Got it. Interesting. Okay. Next one, 3 of 6 we're going to talk about here. The next one is called On the Rocks. Okay, so On the Rocks, let me pull this one up and then you can Tell us all about it. Hang on here, and there we go. All right, tell us about On the Rocks.
This was beautiful. I really enjoyed this design because it was our last design, and it was designed as a team with all the Tomorrow sports guys and everybody pitching in. And we came up with the idea of not using the outer part of the green and just using the turntable. So this
Right.
was a very unique design, and then we added different alternatives. This hole is a very cool part three that turned out to be one of the most exciting ones during the league in regards to where it can change. It can change. You can play it from center at 130 yards, so it's kind of like a half a shot or not a full shot for most players, so
Yes.
that always gets into your head. And you can, as you can see, those tee boxes, there's 6 of them, and you can spread the ball all the way to the right for 180 to 200 yard draw, or to the left for 160, 180, 200 yard fade in. So it was really exciting to see these landforms, to create them, to design them, and all these fingers that come out of these, you know, uh, cliffs, and play onto the rocks, to that turntable of the green.
Nice. So can you tell us about the best shot and perhaps the worst shot? I'm sure there were some that they were then hitting 3 off the tee with this, so they missed the green. So tell us about the most epic shot and
There
the
were
and perhaps one of the biggest fails on the rocks.
No, the fails. I can't remember a fail, but there was a great shot here. Great no hole in one during the season. We're sad about that, but there were very good shots onto the backside of the green that they were kind of like trickling onto the hole, but it didn't go in. So we saw a lot of very cool shots. You can see the backdrop there from the green. And then that backdrop that you see there, that elevated side of that green, obviously mimics what we have on the actual the actual green that's out there, the synthetic green, which was also a beautiful setting from tomorrow sports. So this was a very memorable par three for us, because it was our last design that we turned in.
Nice, nice. And I guess what one of the things that liberated you with the design here, you're like a traditional or an 18-hole course or some of the 9-hole courses like you've done with the property, you have routing is a big deal. And I'm sure with your traditional
Of
designs
course.
or green grass designs in real life designs, that is a key component to what you're doing is the routing of all those holes and how they connect together as chapters in a book, where in this case you're liberated by this, and you also don't have to worry about how do you get to that green because it is virtual. So you're not worried that you're physically not able to get there without a zip line, or it would take half an hour or 40 minutes to play it in real life. You've kind of liberated yourself from that, so that must open up all kinds of opportunities for you.
That is a very interesting point. And yes, we talked about this on your first podcast, where part of our philosophy is to design an 18 chapter book where you have to interconnect with every chapter has to connect and create that story. So when we design on regular green grass, either if it's a 9, 18, 24, 27 golf course, whatever it is, we want to design this story with a structure with a structure. So you do have the plot, the rising action. Get, maybe, you arrive to the climax, then you have a surprising ending, or whatever you want, however you want to structure that. Again, the brief, the why. Are we designing a romantic comedy? Are we designing a thriller? Are we designing, and that has to be connected with the chapters in your book. So yes, in
Nice.
this case, they were all isolated. They had a mind of their own, and so they were lonely childs out there, which is also a cool thing in the psychology world to encounter.
So they're all orphans, but in a good way, I suppose. All
Yes,
single children.
they're all offers, but they get along very nicely.
Nice, nice. Okay, fourth one we're going to talk about, Sidewinder. I know a bit about this one. I remember when I was at TGL, they played this one and it was pretty exciting. So tell us about Sidewinder.
Cool. Sidewinder is is a very interesting hole where we play a lot with the diagonal lines. We play a lot with the the Z value. So we play with X, Y, and the Z value, which is the altitudes.
Yes.
So if you hit on the right side, this calls for a draw in on that right side. That's the safe side to play. But if you hit over 290 to 300, you get a speed slot that feeds onto the
It's down in
lower
here, right?
part where you
Yeah.
see down on the left. Now, the irony there is that you get that bonus yardage, but you're lower now, so you get a blind shot onto the green or onto the second section. This is a par five onto the second section. So now you can decide if you play it's a it's a three shotter. If you play on the right, you stay on high ground and you'll be able to see everything. And you play for a three shot. If you want to go for the risk and reward, you play underneath and you're playing a blind shot onto the green. So I kind of like, but not kind of like, if you look at our designs and you'll find there's humor in them. There's little things that are going on that are counter, they counter themselves when it's like, how am I getting this huge, this speed slot right here, but then I have a blind shot in? Well, yeah, that's what happens for hitting such a good freaking shot. So so no, those little things that I like to play with humor. Not on every hole, but obviously we have a couple of holes on a round of 18 per se where we mix that humor in. You have a very good shot. You still have a perfect shot. For somebody that just hit 340 yards, a blind shot onto a green, it doesn't really mean a lot. But it's kind of like pretty cool to play with that psyche with top players.
Nice, nice. And that speed slot, I remember seeing some guys hit it with a nice draw and it would roll out an extra
Yes.
60, 70, 80 yards. So there was a real
Yes.
bonus. But as you mentioned, the way you've designed this, the elevation change is severe. So you're hitting that blind shot. But for most teams, this was a two-shot hole for them unless they actually hit it in the rough, right? Or the trap.
Yes. No, the idea, yes, and unless they sprayed it a little bit to the rough, which, as you mentioned, the rough was not easy. It was real rough. And when they dropped that ball, I could see them kind of like trying to not drop it very, because it would embed half or three quarters in that rough. So it was exciting. I think I don't know for a fact, but I think that it was the hardest hazard to be on, or the hardest part of the golf course to play was out of the rough.
Gotcha. Okay. One second here. I was doing the executive director behind the scenes here, trying to get another image up here, which is difficult when I'm multitasking, trying to be the host here. But I'll hold off on that. I was going to pull up a picture I took at TGL in the back, which was
Okay.
all the pallets of the rough and the fairway with all the divots out of it and all of them stacked up afterwards, because they do drop them in and change them during the match, because as I said, it's real grass that they actually grow. They've got an agronomist that takes care of this, so this is serious stuff. So I did want to pull that picture up, but I will include that in the show notes afterwards, or see if during the end of the show I can pull that up also. But yeah, you can see these pallets that they have here with the rough and the fairway that Augie was alluding to there. Okay, we got a
Yeah.
couple holes left here. The next one we are going to chat about is called the Spear. And this is one I find the design of this, yeah, there's no way you can do this in real life. Or maybe if you spent $50 million, you can do it, but it would probably be unplayable. But this one's kind of awesome. So let me pull up the Spear here, and then you can tell us all about it. All right, here we go. The Spear.
Yep. Right there. That's our baby. Now,
Tell us about this.
well, we're very happy because it was in you know, there were multiple of things going on during the season, and one of them was a little, poll of what was the favorite hole. So at one point it was a fan favorite on social media, which we're very happy and gracious about. We had a lot of fun designing this one, and to your point, yes, it would probably cost 50 million to build it or make it float, but having said that, Colin, all of our holes were designed with the premises of making them happen in real life.
All right.
So all of them are, if this is in the desert or if this is in regular grass, maybe not, obviously not floating on the lake, um, all of these are doable in real life. So that was another thing that we had in mind is when we were designing this is would like to play it and play it and play it once, twice, three, 10, 20 times. Would I become a member if this golf hole would be on my golf course? And whenever we said yes as the team, we would design it. So
Nice.
all of these have that background, at least in our way of thinking in our book. So the spear, yeah, I briefly went through it where we played with some geometrical forms. In this case, a couple of triangles. Well, three at the end because this is a par five. This is a
Yes.
par five. This is kind of like the sister hole to the temple. The temple's a par four, and the spear is a par five. The temple we placed it in the Machu Picchu mountains, and this one was in a nice peaceful lake where nobody's bothering you, and you have everything just there to your own, and the golf course is pitching at well, depending on the tee, on where the tee markers are, it's pitching anywhere from 275 to 290, and you will take that and take the ultimate, simplicity, the ultimate risk and reward in a simplistic way. So we're very proud of this design. We had a lot of fun doing it. Again, as an architect, as a creative mind, and you know this very well, Colin, arriving to simplicity is one of the hardest things that we will have, and it can take a full career to arrive to simplicity. And this is something that we think we achieved.
Well, as the 20th century, mid-century modernist architect Mies van der Rohe said, less is more, right? And
Well,
sometimes restraint is the most important key to design rather than doing more. I always use the example of a Mozart concerto would not be better if he added another 10 notes. It would probably be worse. So yeah, sometimes sure with you that showing restraint, not trying to put everything in every single hole allows for that clarity, allows for it to be
yes.
dignified and to be awesome.
Yes, and that movement from Walter Gropius, the Bauhaus movement with Mies van der Rohe was at the later end of it, but all
Yes.
of that Bauhaus move, Mies van der Rohe, and creating or trying to get to that simplicity, that is something that inspires me as an architect, and it's funny you mention it because that's exactly what I thought of when designing these holes.
Sounds like you and I are in lockstep. We're simpatico here. We're thinking the same thing. It's like we
Yes.
both been to design school or something.
Exactly. I'm actually funny enough. I'm actually drawing right now. I don't know if you've ever looked at Bauhaus paintings, uh, and I'm actually playing around with some canvases where I'm trying to, to not, maybe not to mimic, but basing myself off of that movement is to recreate some canvases with our designs as an ode to the Bauhaus movement.
I can't wait to see those. That sounds awesome.
Thanks.
Sounds
Thank you.
really good. Okay, last one. You had mentioned that the sister companion to the spear is the temple. So I think the timing and the rhythm of all we're doing here is pretty darn good, because that is
Perfect.
the last one that we're going to run through here today. Let me add that to the stage. And there it is. There is the temple. So tell us about what you got going on here.
Well, I had to mix a little bit of our heritage there as a Latin American, get the Aztec culture there, get a little bit, well, in this case it's Inca, but because it's settled in the Machu Picchu mountains. But at the
Yes.
end, it was all of these civilizations that we grew up with. From the Olmecas, Toltecas, Mayan, Aztec, and all the way down to it went all the way down through Guatemala, where actually I think few people know this, but at Tikal in Guatemala, that's where The Empire Strikes Back was filmed, where they
Right.
were doing that overview of the spaceships, coming in onto land. So it went all the way down to the Inca culture, and just wanted to do a kind of like a little heads up, kind of like a little tap, kind of like a little ode to our culture or heritage. And it was again plain. This was the first design. So first the temple became the temple, and then as a par five we created the spear.
Right.
So the temple again, if you see it from a bird's eye view, it looks like a little god type,
See if I can get that.
este, figurine. So with the green being its head and the tee boxes being the feet, we recreated this temple on pyramid like, and as you know, or as you probably know, the on our side of the world, the pyramid making was escalated, with different platforms, unlike or different than the Egypt pyramids, which all have like perfect angles coming down.
Yes.
Ours were on our side of the world; they're all kind of like benched, and they formed the pyramid. So that's also getting a little bit of Chichen Itza on in it, a little bit of that nature and that culture in there. And the whole plays similar. Obviously, it pinches in the middle. It's again, in our book, in our point of view, the ultimate, simplicity of risk and reward, because it opens very generous. Either if you lay up, it's super generous, and if you cross the 290 mark, it keeps on growing. And if you really hit that 310, 320 carry, it is wide open, almost to an 80-yard width of fairway. So you just choose your strength, choose your poison, choose your and pray to the gods that it gets there.
Love it. Love it. Wow. Okay. One thing I want to ask you before we finish up here. I know in design and architecture, not all our designs actually see the light of day. Were there any design concepts or one perhaps you were really excited about, and once you started to work it through, it was just it just wasn't, whether it wasn't, I wouldn't say is not as good as the other ones, but maybe there was some complexities or it just didn't quite work out. So was there one that you actually were working on and then you decided not to bring to life?
No, of course there's a cut room. There's definitely a cut room, and it's a very interesting question, because imagine, just put yourself in this position where you get the call and it's like, hey, we need, let's say that I'm a singer songwriter. Hey, we need 10 songs this year, and we need them all to be hits. So it's like,
Right.
okay, all right,
No
that's it.
problem.
So yeah, no
Get right
problem.
on
And
that.
so just to put it into perspective, you're designing these where you want and you're looking for them to be hits.
Yes.
So some some had the fantastic reviews, some had good reviews, some had okay, and some had, obviously, we had a cut room, like I said. But that's the beauty of it. No, I think that's the beauty of it. It's like, hey, I have this riff. And once I found the riff also, kind of like the temple and the spear, it's like, oh my God, I love this riff. Everybody loved it. Let's take it to, a dance, let's do a dance, version of it and a slow version of it and have both of them become great hits. So you have like the temple and the spear that are
Right.
sister projects or sisters, and that's because we found a nice riff. So you exploit that and you say, hey, let's use it. Let's cut this one at 250 minutes, and let's do an extra dance version at 650. And that's what you do. That's normal procedure on most artistic ways, especially when you want to hit the airwaves or you want to hit television or you want to hit this entertainment venue. That also plays a big scenario on the designs.
Nice. I like the musical analogy you applied to that. That was good. So looking forward here, I know yourself as a designer, whether it's someone that's designing it as a startup with software or what we do in visual design here and physical design also with what you do, there is this feedback loop. Unlike software where your feedback loop and you can change things within an hour or a day sometimes with code, with you it's going to take longer. So now that you're through one season and you've got feedback from the players, you've got feedback from the audience and the fans, where do you see next year going? Hopefully you're still going to be involved. I don't know contractually if you're going to design more holes. I got my fingers crossed that you will.
Yeah, fingers
But
crossed.
what are you looking at that you've seen? And what design, some things work really well, some things not as well. So you actually amplify the things that work really well. You reduce some of the ones that they don't. If things don't work at all, maybe you get rid of that a little bit, or you get rid of that completely, and then you create new things. So between enhance, reduce, eliminate, and create new, those four things, those pillars, what's on your mind for version 2 next year?
Well, again, fingers crossed. There's nothing else that I can say around that bit, but I can tell you something. Working with technology is it changes every day and it gets better every day, Colin. So I'm really looking forward to the following version of TGL or anything, Golf Plus. I'm looking always forward to their next goggles and their next version because it only gets better every single day. So just imagine, we were very, 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 very gracious, very lucky, and very excited to have had excellent feedback on our on TGL in general. And there was a lot of people, including players, that it grew onto them. And it was like, oh my God, this actually works. This is great. This is beautiful. This is exciting. I mean, you saw the laughs, you saw the tension. I mean, at the end during the playoffs, they were really into it.
Oh yeah.
It was like, oh my God, this is really, really exciting stuff. So I mean, it hurt when LA Golf Club, my team of choice, they're right next door to me in San Diego. Have a great relationship with that team, and it just hurt when they lost. And I think it was Fleetwood missing that 4-footer at the end to kind of like get the hammer and get onto the next hole. And that was it. It was over. So it was like, oh man. But I think that engagement was awesome. I think, my kids now looking at the Masters and saying, hey, that's Alberg.
Yeah.
They would have never known about him if it wasn't for TGL. So
interesting. And that's what they want, right? They want to open.
And it was awesome to see my kids recognize 3-4 players at the Masters from TGL. Yes, like Ludwig Oddberg. He was fantastic on TGL. He was fantastic for television. He was fantastic. He was excited. He was there doing his fist pumps, his faces, his expressions. It was fantastic. So just to give you an example of how much it really it people got engaged on. You see the difference in the first 2 weeks on social media, man. I was getting all the haters heading out. It started to change. Yes. So it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. So
Loved it.
now let's just wait and see what's next. But I'll tell you at least, well, I mean, we're gonna get the next level of version and of excitement and of everything. Because another thing that I applaud TGL is also that, you know, hey, we need to let's change the hammer rule right now.
Yes.
Boom, let's do it. Yes, they don't have to wait for, you know, este, whoever, RNA and USGA to come up with the next year's meeting. No, let's change it tomorrow. Let's go. So all of that all of those dynamics work in favor of what we're trying to achieve, which is a beautiful fork avenue alternate to the sport we love, and to get engagement and grow the game. And from there, if we have 10%, 20% of that go to green grass because they love this atmosphere, then I think we hit it right in the nose.
I agree. And that is, I know, talking to Rory at the TGL match that I was at, I asked him that question as far as unlocking new audiences, especially younger audiences. And you talk about your kids and people that aren't into golf. Maybe they're into video games. Maybe they're into other sports. Maybe they're into Red Bull action sports, all these other things. And now they're exposed to golf for the first time. And your response there with your kids is that validator. Then they see them in a traditional tournament, in the most traditional, awesome tournament of the Masters. Like, I know those guys. I'm watching now because I like them, and now I'm engaged. So that's it's a great gateway what they're creating. Well, I'm hoping to have the good fortune next January again when I'm down at the PGA show, that afterwards I'll just take my my rental down the road there to Jupiter and be there again to watch another match, because in person it was quite something also, and also on TV. So okay, to finish up here, I know we've been going a little long here. I don't want to take up too much more of your time here, Augie, but that's only part of what you do. And right now it's a bit down season for you. So you've got your regular design job with you being the creative force behind Pizá Golf. So you can tell us, for what you can, maybe some are still under NDA, but what are some of the awesome projects that you are working on that you can share with us? Anything at all?
We're working on beautiful projects, the regular things that we do,
right?
Which is we have a beautiful project in Costa Rica, Papagayo area. And we're also creating, I like to be very versatile. I like to have a lot of range in what we create, what we do. So we're doing all the way from putting courses to golf lounges, to par 3 courses, to our concepts, wellness golf. And you can look them up, hashtag wellness golf, hashtag butterfly golf, hashtag the pit 2020, golf lounge, multi-purpose golf. All of that, there are concepts that we have created throughout the years that have gotten a little bit more popular. And now we're getting the calls that say, hey, I want a wellness golf in my resort. I want a wellness golf here. I want a butterfly golf there. So that's what we're working on. We're very excited. And we're excited to keep on creating, keep on thinking outside the box, keep on taking risk. Because that's the way to enjoy the process. It's getting on, is being comfortable outside your comfort zone. That's the beauty. That's where it is.
That makes you feel alive there. Being comfortable, being outside uncomfortable. Absolutely. Whether it's on the golf course,
being uncomfortable,
with a club in your hand, or in life and in business and design and in entrepreneurship. And you definitely tick all those boxes and wear all those hats. So, hey, Augie, why don't we finish up there? Thank you so much for sharing all your insights of all the awesome things you've done with the half a dozen holes you ran through that you've designed, you and your team there for TGL. Hopefully it's not another 3.5 years before we catch up again, because I always love having you on. Your energy is infectious. And I thank you for your time and for joining us on the ModGolf Podcast today. Thanks, Augie.
Thank you, Colin. It was a pleasure.